This is the DJI Action 2. I'm not the sort of bloke who uses an action cam for surfboarding or mountaineering or anything like that, or biking. I want just a little tiny small camera that I can put in my pocket, that I can take out with me to places that are crowded, so that people aren't so aware of me. So what I want from that camera is a reasonably good picture. I want reasonably good sound, and I want it to be inconspicuous and not light up too much and be too obvious to other people. Now, if you're like me, you've probably seen loads of reviews, so you know what it comes with. It comes with magnetic mounts and all kinds of things. I've also got a batch of filters, but one thing about filters, be careful of them, because they do interfere, if you're not careful, with the stabilization. Once the shutter speed goes a little bit low, the stabilization goes, and you've got to be careful. But I've got filters, ND filters, polarizer filter, and they just stick onto the front via a magnetic sort of force, and it also sticks to the tripods and everything with its own magnetic force. The mounts are terrific. Now, something I really like about this action cam is it goes up to 4K 60 frames a second, and it continues with the stabilization, not the ultimate stabilization, but you still got good stabilization at 4K, so you can get some really good shots with this thing. Now, you're probably thinking the Action 3 is about to come out, and why would I bother with an Action 2? Well, the reason I've done this is because I think this is actually a very, very good camera, and you might be able to get a very good deal on it once that Action 3 appears. So just to give you a flavour, here are some shots I've taken on the Osmo Action 2. The Action 2 has a very wide field of view at 155 degrees, so a lot of the shots will look wide angle. Now, one way to get over that is to use the stabilization, which zooms in on the picture and just takes a bit of the edge out, and then you get straighter looking horizons, so it looks like a more normal kind of picture. But having said that, that wide angle of view can come in very handy when you're indoors or in confined spaces. The widest field of view you can get on this camera is ultra wide, but the horizon is curved. It's still curved by the time you get to wide, but if you switch over to standard, it's relatively flat, although the edges aren't quite straight. You want to improve things, put on rock steady, and even ultra wide looks okay. By the time you get to wide, rock steady really does flatten things out, and standard really looks quite good. So really, if you keep this rock steady on, you're going to get a good picture. You want to get close though, use horizon balancing with standard, and you're closer. Stabilization on the Action 2 is absolutely excellent. It goes from none and grades itself up to a stabilization that's unbelievable, where you can just turn the camera upside down, sideways, whatever you want to do, and it's rock steady, absolutely rock steady, stable as anything. So I've got no complaints whatsoever about the stabilization. It's one of the best I've seen. One of the fantastic things about these cameras is the stabilization. These action cameras all seem to have such good stabilization, which is missing on many bigger cameras. So this is now being used without stabilization, just for a reference, because this camera has different levels of stabilization. No stabilization whatsoever, just to give an idea of what my picture looks like when I'm walking normally, to show you how much judder there is going on in the picture. This is the first level of stabilization on the camera, and it's called just steady. Now this one zooms in just a little bit onto the picture, so you use a few pixels less, but it's not that great a zoom in, and might be good enough for people to handhold, but I'm not sure about this walking along. This is called steady, and it's one level below rock steady. So I'm presuming it's not quite as steady, and if I tilt the camera to the right and then tilt it to the left again, you get the picture moving, but hopefully it's reasonably stable while I'm walking. This one is rock steady and is the one that we're used to on the Action, and it holds perfectly still really for walking and those kinds of things, but it zooms in a little bit more on the picture. But for all intents and purposes, this one works very well. So far, none of them control the vertical plane or the horizontal plane. So if I tilt the camera and take it back again, the picture is going to tilt. This is rock steady, and so I'm walking normally just with rock steady on. And if I now turn the camera to 45 degrees, the picture now tilts, and the other way, it tilts the other way. So rock steady doesn't hold the horizon, but it's nice and stable when you're walking. Now the next ones affect the horizon. Now it's zoomed in just a little bit more because I'm using horizon balancing, and what that does is it holds the horizon steady so nothing will tilt when I tilt the camera. So for instance now I'm tilting the camera left and right, but probably you're not seeing anything on the picture. A fantastic thing for when you're wearing the camera, or if you just want the thing to stay upright at all times and you want everything to be nice and steady. Zooms in a little bit more to do that, but it might well be worth that because there's less cropping in the end if you want to straighten up the picture. Now I'm walking and this is horizon balance, so I'm at 45 degrees to the right, I'm at 45 degrees virtually to the left, and everything should stay nice and steady. This stabilisation zooms as far into the picture as it can, and it's called horizon steady. Now, not only is the horizon absolutely flat and stays steady, but even if you turn the camera upside down, the horizon stays in the same place. To do that, you have got to cut into the picture. So for instance now, I've got the camera upside down, and now I'm put it back again, and hopefully the picture has stayed upright, everything's been okay. In order to access horizon steady, I had to drop from 4K to 2.7 because you can't get this at 4K. I've been working at 4K 60 frames a second, which is amazing for such a small camera, but with this horizon steady, I have to drop one resolution to 2.7 in order to be able to have that on my menu. This is horizon steady, and I'm going to rotate the camera 360 degrees, so that's upright. I'm now round at 90 degrees. I'm now upside down. I'm now at the other 90 degree setting, and now I'm back to upright again. The nice thing is that I can record a YouTube video on the Action 2 as I'm doing now, and I'm using a microphone. I'm using a lavalier here, and it goes directly into the USB port on the side of the camera, and it sounds pretty good. But the microphones that are actually on this camera aren't too shabby themselves either. This is the sound of the internal microphone on the Action 2, and as you can hear, they're really not that bad at all and perfectly usable. The only time I wouldn't use this is when it's a little bit breezy, and it's a little bit breezy today, so I decided to use the lavalier instead. But this is the sound of the microphone on the camera. So to end, I think this is a fantastic little camera. It still doesn't focus quite that well when it's close, as you can probably see now. I decided to make this YouTube video totally on the Action 2 just to see what it does, and the close focus still isn't quite there. I think it doesn't snap into focus when it's very close. The other thing is it doesn't come with a case or a lens cover, which I think is a shame because you can't take that cover off. The glass on the front doesn't come off like the other cameras. You can't replace it, so that's a shame it doesn't have a magnetic cover or something just to cover it up. Having said that, I just put a little bag over the top of it and that's it, it's covered up. I think this is a great little camera though, really worth getting, and at the moment it's going at a good price, and I just wonder, is it going to drop once the Action 3 comes out? And if it does, maybe this one is going to be the one to buy. It's pretty good. Hope to see you next time. Cheers for now. I'm just sitting in here editing the video, and I want to say before I go, this is not a full review of the DJI Action 2. It does a lot of other things, slow-mo, time-lapse and all those kinds of things. It's a very, very clever piece of kit. I just made this video because I want you to consider, if you are thinking about the DJI Action 3, maybe this one will be a better deal, because the price of this one isn't too bad at the moment, and if it drops any more, it's going to be a real bargain because it's got that 4K 60 frames a second as well. Fantastic value. Cheers for now.